Hello everyone, Patrick Clayton here with another discussion video. Um, for this one, we'll be going over finding the domain and the range of a given function given as a graph. Um, so the easiest way I can go over to do this is when we're dealing with the domain, we're dealing with the possible values of x. So anywhere where we have an x that corresponds to a given y value, that's part of our domain for this relation. Um, or function in this case. So for our domain values, we're going to take a vertical line and sweep from left to right. So as we come from left to right, the first thing we hit is going to be the start of our domain. So in this case, I've hit this arrow right here. Whenever we hit an arrow, that typically corresponds to an infinity. In this case, since it's the first thing we hit, it'll be a negative infinity. So for our domain, we're going to start at negative infinity. We're going to use a parenthesis here for our interval notation because infinities are never included because they're not a discrete value. So they can't be included. And as we come across, moving from left to right, we get to this asymptote here at x equals -1. Now, when we have a vertical asymptote like this, that means it cannot be part of our domain because there's no y value that's going to correspond on this particular asymptote because x cannot exist on this function where it equals -1. The function can't exist where x equals -1, so there is no y value. So our domain would stop at -1, which would not be included. As we keep going, we can see right on the other side of -1, we pick right back up again. So we're going to have a union here. Again, we're going to have -1 not included, and we're going to keep coming across. As you can see, the function's touching the pen right up until we get to this next asymptote at x equals 2. So we're going to have another gap in our domain there because there's not going to be any y values that correspond to x equals 2. So we're going to have a 2 not included. And as we can see on the other side of 2, we're going to start right back up again, touching the pen. So we're going to have another union. And in this case, it's going to start at 2. And as we can see, we go all the way until we hit this arrow at the end of the function, which is going to be another infinity, this time a +1, again, never included. So our domain is going to be compound union of these three regions of x values. For the range, we're going to do something similar. Except for the range, we're dealing with the y values. So we're going to start low with a horizontal line and sweep to high. So as we come up, we can see here, we hit this arrow or this arrow first, which gives us a -infinity as our start. As we sweep up, we can see in this right-hand section, we're going to stop at 1. We haven't picked up here, but as we can see this middle section, our function crosses that horizontal asymptote. So we're not actually going to have any break in our range there. It's going to keep on going until we hit these arrows at the top, which represent a positive infinity. So that will be our range. Really the only mistake students make here is mixing up x and y or mixing up whether or not these are included. So those are some pitfalls to watch out for. Make sure, when you have these asymptote situations that that's not an included value. And I'll give you guys one to try out on the back here. So what is the domain and range of this function? Try it out and send it in the discussion. And have a great day. Thank you.